Every year, over 2.5 million people in the UK suffer from food poisoning, vomiting, diarrhea, and stomach cramps that can leave you curled up in agony for days. And burgers? They're one of the biggest culprits. We're talking E. coli, salmonella, listeria, bacteria that can shut down your kidneys, attack your nervous system, and, in rare cases, even take you out. But here's what really keeps me up at night. That burger you're craving right now might contain meat treated with sodium nitrite, a preservative linked to increased cancer risk when consumed regularly. It could have mechanically separated meat, which is basically a pink slime made by forcing bones through high-pressure sieves. Or it might contain phosphates that weaken your bones over time. These aren't conspiracy theories, these are ingredients approved for use in processed meat products across the UK. Remember 2013, the horse meat scandal that rocked the entire nation? DNA testing revealed that up to 100% of some beef burgers contained horse meat. Not traces, not contamination, pure horse. Major supermarkets, trusted brands. They had no idea what they were actually selling you. If they couldn't tell the difference between a cow and a horse, what else are they getting wrong? The burger you're about to bite into could be hiding something nasty. From fake meat scandals to financial collapses, from immigration raids to food poisoning outbreaks, these UK burger brands have secrets they desperately don't want you knowing. Stick around, because what I'm about to reveal will change where you eat forever. At number 11, we've got Hungry Horse and the clues in the criticism. These burgers taste like they're actually meant for horses. This Greene King-owned chain operates over 240 pubs across the UK, and they've mastered the art of disappointing families everywhere. The burgers have that unmistakable freezer-to-grill taste that screams, "I've been sitting in a warehouse for months." One parent posted online, "My 7-year-old took one bite and asked if the meat had gone bad. When a child who eats chicken nuggets daily refuses your burger, that's a problem." The patties are mass-produced, frozen, and taste like cardboard, according to multiple reviews. But here's where it gets disturbing. Staff members have leaked information about the meat arriving in massive frozen blocks, often showing signs of freezer burn. One former kitchen worker revealed, "We'd microwave them first to speed up cooking during rush hours. Health and safety nightmare." That's right, microwaved burger patties that then hit the grill just long enough to get char marks. The 2014 Double Donut Burger showcased their reckless philosophy. This abomination contained 1,996 calories, 53 grams of saturated fat, that's 265% of your daily limit, and 8.2 grams of salt, which is more than your entire recommended daily intake. Nutritionists called it a heart attack on a plate. One customer who actually finished it posted, "Spent the next 12 hours vomiting. Thought I was having a cardiac episode. Never again." Health inspectors have flagged multiple locations. One branch received a 1-star rating after inspectors found raw meat stored above ready-to-eat food, creating contamination risks. Another customer reported finding a hair baked into the patty itself. One reviewer described their experience. The burger arrived cold in the middle. The coleslaw had visible mold. And when I complained, staff told me that's just how the slaw looks. I got severe food poisoning that night, 103-degree fever, and couldn't leave the bathroom for 2 days. The inconsistency is staggering because quality control is non-existent. When margins are razor thin, corners get cut everywhere. The meat gets cheaper, storage gets sloppier, and customers pay the price with their health. Number 10 might surprise you. It's Subway. And yes, they sell burgers in the UK now. The sandwich giant has been consistently placed in the avoid category by ethical consumer due to abysmal meat sourcing. Their meatballs have become notorious for containing mystery meat. One food scientist who analysed them said, The texture suggests heavy use of mechanically separated meat and textured vegetable protein. You're eating compressed meat paste with flavor additives. But the real horror is what former employees have revealed. One whistleblower posted, "The meatballs sit in that heating tray for hours, sometimes the entire day. We're supposed to throw them out after 4 hours, but managers told us to just add more sauce and keep serving them." I've seen meatballs that were definitely there from the morning shift still being served at closing. The chain faces serious questions about what's actually in their meat. They lost a $210 million lawsuit over tuna DNA testing that allegedly found no tuna DNA in their tuna products. If they can't get tuna right, what's really in the beef? Customer complaints described the meat as rubbery and grey with an artificial chemical taste. One reviewer wrote, "I bit into my meatball sub and found a piece of blue rubber glove baked into the meatball. When I brought it back, they offered me a free cookie." The supply chain prioritizes shelf life over everything. The meat is heavily preserved with sodium benzoate, potassium sorbate, and other chemicals that keep it stable for extended periods. A microbiologist explained, "Natural meat shouldn't survive sitting in lukewarm conditions for hours without going bad. The preservation levels required for that safety margin mean you're consuming significant chemical additives." Subway operates on such thin margins that portioning is militaristic. Staff are trained to give you the absolute minimum while maximizing profit. Former employees report being written up for giving too much meat, even when customers pay extra. The entire model prioritizes cost-cutting over quality, and your health takes the back seat. Number 9 is the Golden Arches. Themselves, McDonald's UK. Now, hear me out before you rage quit. Despite marketing campaigns about British and Irish beef, what you're actually eating is concerning. The patties are so thin and overcooked that customers call them meat discs rather than burgers. Reddit is filled with complaints like, "I ordered a quarter pounder and the patty looked like someone ran over it with a steamroller, completely dried out and tasted like salted cardboard." McDonald's operates at a scale that makes contamination incidents inevitable. In 2022, a customer in Birmingham posted photos of their burger containing what appeared to be a human fingernail embedded in the meat. McDonald's claimed it was onion, but the photo clearly showed otherwise. Another customer found a used bandage pressed into their patty. These aren't isolated. Search online and you'll find hundreds of similar horror stories. The real issue is the constant cost cutting. The beef quality has noticeably declined over the past 5 years as McDonald's squeezes suppliers. One former supplier whistleblower revealed, "McDonald's price pressure is so intense that we had to start using lower grade beef trimmings. The specifications kept changing. Less actual muscle meat, more connective tissue, and fat scraps. As long as it hit the minimum protein percentage, they accepted it." Here's the financial insult. A cheeseburger that cost 99p for over a decade now costs 139. A 40% price hike, while quality simultaneously dropped. You're paying significantly more for demonstrably worse food. The portions have shrunk through sneaky tactics. The patties are thinner, the buns are oversized to create an illusion of substance, and the overall meat content has decreased by an estimated 15% since 2020. Multiple customers have reported food poisoning. One person posted, "Ate a Big Mac for lunch. By evening I had severe cramping and diarrhea that lasted 3 days. Tested positive for E. coli. Health department traced it back to that McDonald's location." The restaurant received a warning but stayed open. The assembly line approach means your burger spends minimal time being cooked, often arriving lukewarm, the danger zone temperature where bacteria thrive. McDonald's has mastered making you think you want their food through marketing, but the reality rarely matches the glossy advertisements. At number 8, we have Burger King UK, and they absolutely deserve to be higher on this list. The flame-grilled marketing can't hide what customers consistently describe as cheap, low-quality meat with an off-putting taste. One reviewer wrote, "The burger tasted sour, like the meat was on the edge of going bad, that weird tang you get from meat that's been sitting too long." The patties often taste like they've been under heat lamps for ages, developing that distinctive, dry, crusty texture. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, the 2013 horse meat scandal. Burger King admitted that horse meat DNA was found in their burgers from their Ireland-based supplier. Not trace amounts from cross-contamination, but actual horse meat in what they sold as beef. When this broke, Burger King tried downplaying it. It was only trace amounts in a small batch. But DNA testing doesn't lie, and the fact it happened reveals catastrophic supply chain failures. They literally had no idea what animal they were serving customers. One customer who ate at Burger King during that period posted years later, "After the horse meat news broke, I remembered getting these burgers that tasted different. Slightly sweeter, weird texture. I convinced myself it was fine. Now I know I probably ate horse and didn't even realize it." That's violating on so many levels. Beyond horse meat, Burger King's hygiene record is appalling. A 2019 investigation found maggots crawling in the kitchen of one of their German franchises. And German franchises follow the same operational standards as UK ones. In 2021, a Manchester location received a 1-star hygiene rating after inspectors found mouse droppings throughout the kitchen and inadequate cleaning procedures. One employee posted anonymously, "Managers pressured us to ignore drop times on meat." Chicken that was supposed to be tossed after sitting for 20 minutes would get re-wrapped and served hours later. I quit after seeing the freezer. Meat with no labels or dates. Just mystery packages we defrost and serve. The consistency issues are legendary. One branch serves something vaguely edible, while another delivers burgers that look intentionally sabotaged. Buns arrive soggy from being wrapped too long. Cheese doesn't melt. Vegetables look days old and brown around the edges. A reviewer described their Whopper. The lettuce was brown and slimy, the tomato was mushy, and the entire thing smelled like wet cardboard. I threw it away after one bite and still got stomach cramps. For a chain operating since the 1950s, they still haven't mastered basic quality control, and that's unforgivable. Number 7 encompasses those local budget burger joints, hiding behind gourmet branding while serving dangerous substandard meat. You know the ones, names like the Boss Burger or Meat Heaven, with trendy industrial decor and expensive menus. They convince you they're offering quality, but the reality is horrifying. One customer posted, paid $14 for their signature prime beef burger. It arrived grey in the middle, clearly undercooked, and when I cut it open, red liquid pooled on the plate. Not juices, actual blood. I reported them to Environmental Health. These establishments frequently appear with 1-star reviews describing food poisoning. One person wrote, "Ate their gourmet cheeseburger on Friday night. By Saturday morning I was in A&E with severe food poisoning. Doctor said my symptoms indicated the meat had been contaminated with fecal bacteria, meaning either the cow was butchered improperly or it was stored with contaminated equipment. Check Food Standards Agency ratings and you'll find scores of 1s, 2s and 3s. Inspectors consistently find catastrophic violations, inadequate refrigeration, meat stored at dangerous temperatures, poor pest control, and staff ignoring basic hygiene." One inspector's report I found online stated, "Raw burger meat stored at 14%, well above the 5-day safety limit." When questioned, the owner claimed the thermometer was broken and they'd been operating this way for weeks. Immediate closure order issued. These places source the cheapest possible mince, often the scraps other restaurants reject. One former supplier revealed these budget gourmet places would call asking for the cheapest bulk mince we had. We'd sell them 70-30 fat ratio meat with a 48-hour expiration. They'd freeze it immediately and use it for weeks, thawing batches as needed. That's why their burgers fall apart and taste greasy. It's mostly fat with minimal actual muscle meat. The artisan brioche buns are bulk bought and stale. The hand-cut chips are frozen McCain's. The aged beef is supermarket mince. One reviewer wrote, "I watched through the kitchen door as they pulled frozen patties from a Costco bag. These are the same patties I buy for $2 per kilo. They charged me $14 for something I could make at home for $1.50. It's all smoke, mirrors, and health code violations. A fancy name and exposed brick walls don't make dangerous food safe to eat." At number 6, we're talking about Wahlburgers UK, where celebrity endorsements spectacularly failed to save terrible burgers. Founded by chef Paul Wahlberg and his famous brothers Mark and Donnie, this American import crashed and burned in the UK. The burgers were forgettable at best, dangerous at worst. One customer reported, "Ordered medium, received something nearly raw in the centre." When I complained, the staff argued that's what medium means. I had to explain food safety to them while my burger oozed pink liquid onto the plate. Here's the shocking part. In 2025, Wahlburgers is closing 79 locations. That's over 75% of their entire operation. That's not a strategic restructuring. That's a catastrophic failure that reveals fundamental operational problems. When you're shutting down 3/4 of your restaurants within years of opening, something is profoundly broken. One former employee posted, "The training was non-existent. They hired people with no food experience, gave them 2 days of training, and expected them to run a kitchen. I saw co-workers drop frozen patties on the floor and still serve them. Management didn't care as long as we hit speed targets." The inconsistency was staggering. One location might serve an acceptable burger, while another branch serves biohazards. Reviews describe burgers arriving cold, undercooked, or contaminated. A customer in London wrote, "Found a long black hair cooked into the cheese. When I pulled it, more hair came out from inside the patty itself. I projectile vomited right." There in the restaurant, another reviewer bit into my burger and found something hard and sharp, pulled out a piece of metal like a fragment from a meat grinder blade. My gum was bleeding. You're paying premium prices, often 15 to 18 per burger, essentially for the Wahlberg name attached to substandard food. The meat was unremarkable, often described as grey and flavourless, or gritty with a weird chemical aftertaste. One food blogger who reviewed multiple locations concluded, "This is frozen meat, poorly handled, inconsistently prepared, and served at prices that would embarrass a Michelin-starred restaurant. The Wahlberg name is the only thing remotely premium about this operation." The closures prove fame can't rescue mediocre food and incompetent operations. Multiple customers reported food poisoning traced back to Wahlburgers locations. The UK expansion was a vanity project that prioritised celebrity branding over food safety, staff training, and basic quality control. The Wahlberg brothers collected checks while customers got sick. That's not business, that's exploitation. Number 5 is Neat Burger, the plant-based chain backed by Lewis Hamilton and Leonardo DiCaprio. With that celebrity firepower, you'd expect revolutionary food. Instead, Neat Burger represents expensive, preachy failure. The chain shut down all UK locations in 2025, following their New York store closure. That's complete operational collapse. And honestly, customers saw it coming. The fundamental problem was assuming people wanted expensive lectures about sustainability while eating ultra-processed plant protein that might be worse for you than beef. One customer posted, "Paid 11 tons for their plant burger. checked the ingredients: methyl cellulose, modified starches, synthetic flavoring, and a dozen ingredients I can't pronounce. This isn't health food, it's a chemistry experiment. The burgers contained concerning levels of sodium. Some had over 1/200 milliards per serving, which is more than half your daily limit in one burger. But here's what's truly shocking. Emerging research suggests some ultra-processed plant-based meats may carry health risks. A 2024 study linked regular consumption to increased cardiovascular issues due to high sodium and saturated fat from coconut oil. One nutritionist stated, "These products are engineered foods. The processing required to make plants taste like meat involves heat, pressure, and numerous additives. We don't have long-term data on health impacts." Neat Burger marketed itself as the healthy choice, while serving products with questionable nutritional profiles. Customers hated the taste. Reviews consistently described the burgers as mushy, artificial, and chemical tasting. One person wrote, "The texture was like eating wet bread mixed with sawdust. It fell apart in my hands and left a weird coating in my mouth. I threw it away after 3 bites and felt nauseous." Another got food poisoning from their plant-based chicken. Didn't think that was possible with non-meat, but apparently improperly stored plant protein can still harbour bacteria. Spent 2 days sick. The celebrity backing hurt more than helped. When multimillionaire athletes and actors lecture regular people about sustainable eating while charging 10+ for processed plant burgers, it's insulting. The brand came across as elitist and disconnected. One customer summed it up perfectly. "Hamilton and DiCaprio fly private jets everywhere, but want me to feel guilty about eating beef. And they want me to pay premium prices for their mediocre plant burgers. That's not environmental activism, that's hypocrisy." Neat Burger solved a problem nobody had, at prices nobody wanted to pay, with food that made people sick. At number 4, we're calling out Five Guys UK for being criminally overpriced and increasingly unsafe. A basic meal easily costs 20 pounds. According to their website, a cheeseburger is $10.95. Regular fries are $5.65. Drink is $4.35. You're spending over $20 for fast food that doesn't justify the cost. One reviewer calculated, "I paid $22 for a burger and chips. For that money, I could get a proper restaurant meal with table service, appetizers, and better quality meat." But price isn't even the worst issue. Multiple customers report severe food poisoning. One person posted, "Ate a Five Guys burger on Tuesday. By Wednesday morning, I had violent vomiting and diarrhea. Doctor confirmed it was bacterial food poisoning, likely from undercooked meat or cross-contamination." Another, "My burger was pink in the middle, despite ordering well done. When I complained, staff said, 'That's just the juices.' No, that was raw meat. I got gastroenteritis and missed a week of work." The famous foil wrapping creates a steam chamber that breeds bacteria when food sits. One food safety expert explained, "Wrapping hot food in foil and letting it sit creates the perfect environment for bacterial growth if the meat wasn't cooked to proper temperatures. The warm, moist conditions accelerate contamination." Customers consistently complain about burgers arriving soggy, lukewarm, and with that suspicious smell that indicates meat sitting too long. Health inspection reports reveal concerning patterns. Multiple UK locations have received warnings for temperature control violations, inadequate cleaning, and staff not following proper hand-washing procedures. One inspector's report stated, "Observed employee handle raw meat, then proceed to prepare cooked burgers without changing gloves or washing hands. Immediate corrective action required." Another location was cited for storing meat above safe temperatures. The quality varies wildly despite premium pricing. One customer described, "The burger was so greasy that oil literally dripped down my arms. The bun disintegrated into mush. I took 4 bites and threw it away, then had severe stomach cramps that evening. Another review found a fingernail in my burger, not like it fell. It was embedded in the meat, suggesting it went through the grinder with the beef. I nearly vomited. Five Guys defends their pricing by claiming it reflects ingredient costs, but that doesn't explain the health and safety failures. Customers don't care about your supply chain excuses when they're paying $20 and getting food poisoning. One person summarized it perfectly. I'd rather eat McDonald's for $6 and know exactly what I'm getting than pay $20 at Five Guys and risk hospital bills from food poisoning. They're charging restaurant prices while maintaining fast food safety standards, and that's dangerous. Number 3 is Gourmet Burger Kitchen, and the irony of gourmet in their name is painful. GBK pioneered the UK better burger scene in 2001, but that was 24 years ago. Since then, they've declined dramatically while maintaining premium prices. The burgers often arrive lukewarm with meat that seems hours old. One customer wrote, "I cut into my burger and the middle was cold. Not cool, but refrigerator cold. They'd clearly pre-cooked it hours earlier and just reheated the outside. I sent it back and the replacement was barely warmer." But here's the truly terrifying part. GBK has a documented history of serving dangerously undercooked burgers. Multiple customers have reported severe food poisoning, with some requiring hospitalization. One person posted, "Ordered medium rare, received a burger that was raw in the center, literally cold and purple. I ate half before realizing. Spent the next week with E. coli poisoning, including bloody diarrhea and a 104-degree fever. I lost 12 pounds and my doctor said it was one of the worst cases he'd seen." Another victim wrote, "3 of us ate at GBK. All 3 got violently ill within 12 hours. One friend ended up hospitalized with salmonella. The health department investigated and found the location was cooking burgers to insufficient internal temperatures and had inadequate temperature monitoring." GBK's response: a generic apology and a voucher for a free meal. One customer responded, "They gave me a voucher after their food nearly killed me. I threw it away. I wouldn't feed GBK to my worst enemy." Food hygiene reports paint a damning picture. Multiple locations have received 2- and 3-star ratings, with inspectors finding issues like inadequate refrigeration, pest infestations, and poor staff training. One report stated, "Kitchen staff observed handling raw meat, then preparing salads without proper hand washing. Cross-contamination risk is high." Another location was cited for meat stored well beyond safe dates, with one inspector noting, "Found beef dated from 11 days prior still in use. Manager claimed it still looked fine." The value proposition is insulting. You're paying $12-15 for burgers that arrive slower than sit-down restaurants, with quality barely above fast food chains. Service is painfully slow. 30-45-minute waits are common during busy periods. One reviewer timed it. "Waited 47 minutes for 2 burgers. They arrived lukewarm and overcooked. For that wait time and price, I expect perfection. Instead, I got shoe leather with ketchup." The portions have shrunk through classic shrinkflation tactics. The patties are thinner, the buns oversized, creating the illusion of substance while delivering less meat. One regular customer noted, "I've eaten at GBK for years. The burgers are noticeably smaller. I'd estimate the patties are 30% thinner than 5 years ago, but the price has increased by 25%. They're giving you less while charging more." Multiple people report finding foreign objects in their food: hair, plastic fragments, and in one horrifying case, what appeared to be a tooth. GBK operates as a zombie brand that should have died years ago, serving dangerous food at premium prices while cutting every possible corner. At number 2, we have Gordon Ramsay's Street Burger, and the hypocrisy is breathtaking. This is a man who built his career berating chefs for subpar food, yet his own burger chain serves overpriced mediocrity. The burgers lack any finesse that his brand supposedly represents. You're mostly paying for the famous name, not quality. One reviewer wrote, if Ramsay walked into his own restaurant as a mystery diner, he'd scream at everyone and shut the place down. The burger was everything he criticised on Kitchen Nightmares. Multiple customers report food safety issues. One person posted, found mould growing on the bun, not a little spot. The entire underside was covered in green-blue mould. When I showed the staff, they claimed it was seasoning. I showed them the fuzzy texture, and they finally admitted the buns had been sitting for days. Another customer, my burger was pink in the centre, despite ordering well done. The outside was charred, but the inside was cold and raw. A classic sign of frozen meat rushes through cooking. Got food poisoning that ruined my weekend. Here's what makes this particularly galling. Ramsay spent decades criticising restaurants for using frozen ingredients and cutting corners, yet his own chain does exactly that. Former employees have revealed the truth online. One posted, everything arrives frozen. The meat, the buns, and even some toppings. We defrost and cook to order, but when it's busy, stuff doesn't fully thaw. I've seen co-workers serve burgers that were still frozen in the centre because managers pressured us to hit time targets. I quit after 3 months because the health and safety standards were horrific. The meat quality is unremarkable at best. Multiple reviewers describe it as grey, gritty, or having an off taste. One person wrote, the burger tasted like it had been refrozen multiple times. That distinctive texture you get from meat that's been frozen, thawed and refrozen. The flavour was metallic and unpleasant. Another, bit into my burger, and it had that rainbow sheen you see on old lunch meat. I immediately spit it out. That's bacterial. Growth on decomposing meat. I reported them to Environmental Health. The pricing is insulting. Often 15 to 18 per burger for food that should cost half that. One customer calculated, I paid $17.50 for a burger that was indistinguishable from something I'd get at Wetherspoons for $6.99. The only difference was Ramsay's name on the wrapper. That's a $10 celebrity tax for worse food. The brand exists purely as a cash grab, leveraging Ramsay's fame to trick customers into overpaying for burgers that would fail on Hell's Kitchen. One reviewer perfectly captured the betrayal. Ramsay made millions, calling out chefs for frozen food, poor quality meat, and cutting corners. Then he puts his name on restaurants doing exactly those things. It's not just disappointing, it's fraudulent. He's become everything he claimed to hate, and he's charging premium prices for it. Gordon Ramsay's street burger represents the worst kind of celebrity exploitation, trading on reputation while delivering food that betrays everything that reputation was built on. And at number 1, the burger brand you should absolutely never support is Byron Burger. This isn't just about quality, this is a moral imperative. Byron was once the darling of UK burger culture, operating 67 branches at its peak in 2018. Today, only 7 restaurants remain, plus 2 takeaway kitchens. That collapse stems from a scandal so egregious, it sparked nationwide boycotts, protests, and permanent brand damage. Let's talk about July 4th, 2016, a date that lives in infamy. Byron collaborated with UK immigration officials to orchestrate one of the most despicable corporate betrayals in British history. The chain invited suspected undocumented workers to what they claimed were mandatory health and safety training sessions across 15 London locations. Early morning calls, compulsory attendance, no option to refuse. When these 35 workers arrived expecting training, they were instead greeted by immigration officials who arrested them on the spot. These employees from Brazil, Egypt, Albania and Nepal were detained and subsequently deported. Some had worked loyally for Byron for 4 years, building the business, serving customers, making the company profitable. The details are sickening. Immigration officers had lists with names, photos and detailed information that could only have come from Byron management. One worker told The Guardian, "I couldn't believe what was happening. When I realised they were going to deport us, I felt so bad. I worked here for 4 years and they treated me like a criminal." Another said, "We weren't even given a chance to say goodbye to our colleagues. They just put us in vans and took us to detention centres." Think about the planning required. Byron management scheduled these fake training sessions, coordinated with immigration officials, provided employee information, and then watched as their own workers were arrested. They looked these people in the eyes, people who'd been instrumental to their success, and betrayed them for cooperating with authorities. One employee described arriving at 7 a.m. for the training. The managers looked nervous, wouldn't make eye contact. When the immigration officers came in, our managers left the room. They knew exactly what was happening. The public reaction was immediate and furious. Go Boycott Byron trended on Twitter with over 16,000 mentions within 48 hours. The hashtag generated 8,275 tweets, calling Byron's actions despicable, craven, snide, disgraceful, and morally repugnant. Protesters organised demonstrations outside Byron locations across London, Manchester, Leeds and Cambridge. The High Holborn protest attracted over 400 people despite terrible weather and short notice. Activists from United Voices of the World Union, London Latinx, Black Dissidents and other groups coordinated nationwide actions. Some protesters released cockroaches and locusts into Byron restaurants, forcing temporary closures. Byron's response showed zero remorse. Their official statement confirmed they had cooperated fully with the Home Office and pledged to continue doing so. No apology to the workers, no acknowledgement of the human cost, no admission that they'd betrayed people's trust. They framed it as simply following the law, but legality doesn't equal morality. Byron could have refused to participate. They could have warned workers. They could have shown basic human decency. Instead, they chose to trap vulnerable people who dedicated years to their success. The scandal revealed how disposable companies consider migrant workers. Byron profited from their labour for years. These weren't new hires. Some had worked there since 2012, but felt zero loyalty when authorities came calling. These workers came to the UK seeking better lives. They took jobs others didn't want, worked for relatively low wages, and contributed to Byron's success. Their reward? Betrayal, detention, and deportation, with lives permanently disrupted. Meanwhile, Byron faced no legal consequences for previously hiring undocumented workers. They claimed to have been deceived by false documentation. The workers suffered life-altering consequences while the company continued operating. That inequality reveals whose side the system actually serves. Compare this to the Isabella Acevedo case from 2013. She was a cleaner working for Immigration Minister Mark Harper without proper documentation. When discovered, Harper resigned, Isabella was fired, and then immigration officials raided her daughter's wedding ceremony, detained Isabella in front of guests, and deported her to Colombia. Mark Harper later returned to government. Isabella's life was destroyed. The Byron workers faced similar treatment. Their lives upended, families separated, dreams crushed, while Byron executives faced zero personal consequences. Since 2016, Byron has collapsed. They entered administration, closed dozens of locations, and became a shadow of their former operation. Some argue the boycott worked, that ethical consumer action forced accountability. Others note the chain was already struggling with poor management and market competition, but the 2016 betrayal permanently stained the brand. Many who learned about the immigration sting refused to eat at Byron on principle, myself included. One former customer wrote, "I used to love Byron. After July 2016, I couldn't even walk past their restaurants without feeling sick. Those workers trusted their employer. They showed up when called. And Byron used that trust to destroy their lives. I will never give them another penny." Another said, "It's not about the burgers anymore. It's about standing against companies that treat human beings as disposable." Byron's actions were evil and they deserve to fail completely. Why would you support a company that treats workers as disposable tools? That collaborate with authorities to trap vulnerable people? That shows zero remorse for destroying lives. Byron's collapse is karmic justice. Every closure represents accountability for their moral bankruptcy. The 7 remaining